there's a lot here, so I'm going to kind of catch everybody up on the last few reports on James Harden. So Matt Moore of Action Network reported that Harden to Houston has cooled down, and there's concern out of Houston that the Rockets have been used as leverage, as leverage the Sixers into offering something closer to a max deal in terms of years or money. Our guy Eric said this when the reports first came out. This is what Eric said was happening. Bill Simmons said a little birdie told him that Harden back to the Sixers is a lot more realistic and probable than people think it is. And Mark Stein reported, quote, there have been some rumbles this week that despite that undeniably strong lure that a return to Houston holds for Harden, he is said to be giving renewed consideration to returning to Philadelphia. So obviously a lot to unwrap here, but what do we think of all this? And what is your final James Harden prediction on where he signs and for how much and how many years?
Well, I mean, all that, how much in years, I'll let Teja handle all that. That's what he do. My thing is, like I've always said, I didn't think this would be a situation of whether James would come back. I think the disagreement, I don't want to say dispute, the disagreements on the deal will come down to years. I firmly believe that. Years, salary behind that, closely behind. And I thought the Houston thing was a play. I think he would go to Houston, but I didn't think that was something he wanted to do. But if you're not going to give me this, then I have a backup plan. I have leverage. If that never came in play, then you'd be like, well, where's James' leverage? You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I think that leverage play is there. I think he will return. I think I'm just not certain how the contract is going to look. I'm still not certain to this day. Like, I really don't know. I think it's going to come down to figuring that out. And I think if some way they can't figure that out, then you may see all of a sudden talk of him being traded, a sign and trade. Like I said, I thought if he left, it would be a sign and trade where both teams kind of agree this isn't working. Let's get you a place and let's get us something back.
Yep.
So I firmly believe that he will return on whatever deal he gets. If not, then there will be some form of a sign and trade.
Which the sign and trade would be like the best alternate option to not signing him, right? I mean,
yes,
he won't leave for nothing. There's also another Pompei report that came out that pretty much echoing what Stein said, becoming more likely that he stays. It's a business. Harden's just trying to make.
But it's getting close to free agency, so it's getting close. So now, the draft is here, free agency's a week after. So the time is here. So now people are like, well, decision's gonna be made. So we in the world now where people can't wait and see. Like, they gotta announce before. So the word is starting to leak out.
And he hasn't opted out yet, interesting enough.
Yeah.
I think he's going to. Everyone thinks he's going to, but he hasn't yet.
There's really no reason to do it early unless you want to.
But I think he's just trying to make the most he can with the most years he can. I will say this. We hear guys using teams for leverage when they visit teams for free agency. Like, so two new teams, you're going to leverage one against the other, right? You merely just visit a team to lure the more attractive team to spend more money. It's a little different, though, Greg, because we've heard since December how much James loves Houston. Houston's his home. He always wanted to go back. It's where his heart is. His favorite strip clubs are there. He's got 3 days off in a row. He flies right to Houston immediately, and he can't wait to get back there any chance he gets. All this different stuff, right? Now, like, as the dust is settling, like you said, and we're getting closer to the actual real date, you're starting to see like the reality and the truth behind some of this. And it's that, some of that Houston stuff, it's not strong enough just to make him go there automatically, right? And we're hearing maybe the bond with him and Maury is a lot stronger than people maybe give it credit for. He got him out of Brooklyn. It's where he wanted to go all along. It sounded weird to me that after clawing to rejoin Maury in Philly, he would just leave after 1 full year together. It just seems like unfinished business. And he actually kind of said that after the loss in Boston. Like, it's only 1 year. Like, we've only done this like one time. So it's not like we've tried it all already. I think it's unfinished. I think he stays. I will guess the years in money. I'm gonna guess 3 for 114. I think his first year is 36. It's a little over what his opt-in number would be. Second year 38, and third year around 40. That's my on the nose guess. Yep.
So what's the most he can make this year?
If they did like total like most years, it'd be 4 for
No, the
2.
most, how much?
4 for 212 can be his max.
No, the highest amount he can make this season.
This season?
Yeah.
I'll do quick math. 212 divided by 4. So 53 would be the average. So it'd be around like 49, I'd say.
Okay.
Because it would go up like 49, like 51 and a half, like 53 and a half, 54, and like 57 would be the last, 58 would be that last year. That would be like max.
It's always interesting to me with older players. And why teams never really get to a de-escalating contract. Where contract goes down.
Yeah, especially with all the CBA stuff going on.
And that's where I'm getting at. Like, what is going to be a threshold for the Sixers? Like Phoenix, like now they're in a situation where they don't have to figure some things out, or they're going to be in that danger zone.
Oh, they're in it.
No, I'm just saying, like, they could move Aiden and not be in it. I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
Really in it. But I'm saying with the Sixers, and that's why sometimes it comes down to how they're going to address the Tobias upcoming 1-year situation.
Yeah.
And if you re-sign James, then how's that going to look?
And maybe they choose to
in 3 years. Like I said, James earned it, but 3 years is I don't know. As I said, I see 3 years, but I think amount will matter.
Yeah, because I think last week, the week before, you said, I mean, we obviously want to give him, I think, 2.
Well, I want James to get the most he can get. That's on him. Like I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying from a team perspective, that's a tough decision.
Yeah,
that's a tough decision to go to him and his agent and that initial offer. So James is going to come in here with this agent and expect the max. Now, what is going to be the first counter? The first counter the Sixers give him. That's going to tell you how far that's going to tell James and his agent how far that gap is.
Yeah.
I would love to be a fly on the wall.
I know, man. So would I. I'd love
the first offer would tell me everything I need to know.
I'd love if Tobias dad was James Harden's agent, so I could be at a restaurant while he talks about it on speakerphone. I would love that so much.
There you go.
No, but I think I read the Sixers are trying to balance a fair offer for him and also maintain short-term and long-term flexibility. Yada yada yada.
So he's not going to be longer than Joel. We know.
And
that.
James wants as close to the max as he can get.
I mean, the more years you cut off, the more he's going to expect on a yearly basis.
Yeah. I mean, you've been involved in this kind of stuff.
I can tell you like this: if you start hearing rumblings about he may not stay with Philly, then you know it's
2 years offer.
We know what it's talking about.
Yeah,
it's years, and the amount over those years. Yes.
Is there a rule against it? Because you mentioned de-escalating contract where you start off high and then you go low. Is there rules against that?
I don't think there's rules against it. I know from a union perspective, it doesn't help. It's a negative for the union perspective. It's a team positive contract because you look at it from that player standpoint. Along with his, usually, except for, LeBron James, the de-escalating talent, you know what I'm saying? But talent's going like this, salary's going like this. But you got to take that person's contract, though, and put it in a bowl with all of the contracts. So if you have a contract going down, you have all the older guys' contracts going down, it's going to bring the overall balance for all the players down. And
It's
you
not-
never want it going down. You want it going up for whenever you renegotiate from a collective bargaining standpoint.
It's not common with the highest paid guys. I see it sometimes with like the mid and lower.
You'll see it flat before you see it going down.
Yeah, like Miles Turner has one like that. CJ McCollum has one like that. Buddy Hield has one like that.
What, they have one de-escalating?
Yeah, Harrison Barnes also had it. I think his went from like 20 to 18, I believe. Yeah. So there are some guys
that's what I said. It's not a I know because I remember when I was in the union, I was like VP. I asked that question, like, why if it's an issue for older guys, like, why don't they just de-escalate the contract? They was like, no, we can't never do that.
Yeah, Jaren Jackson, Jalen Brunson's actually interesting.
Well, the Jalen Brunson, that one I understand because that was a front load to discourage the Mavericks from matching it.
Yes. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I would love, like you said, I'd love to be listening to that. You've been to a lot of these on team and as a player. I think we talked about this before. You said you would think that he'd want between years or money, he'd rather have years. Is that right? You lean a little bit toward years. Obviously not. Obviously got to be close.
I would say years, but I think it can be balanced out. I think if they were to give him a max contract for 2 years, I think he would take that over 3 years, the same amount of money. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they could give him what, as you say, 49, basically $100 million for 2 years. They can give him $100 million for 3 years. Most guys will take that $100 million for 2 years and then be like, at the end of the day, I made the same amount of money without 1 year of grind. So the money's still number one.
It is a risk, though.
From James' perspective, the money's number one. The years is behind it. From a team perspective, the money's there, but I think the years matter more too, because they gotta come to those years. You got to get to the point where you have some flexibility, and I think from what I've read that the Sixers are looking for flexibility in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, for an older guy though, it is a risk, right? Because we've seen some guys like the money dry up for them. Not to say like Paul's not going to get signed by somebody if he gets bought out, but it's certainly not going to be anything close to what he's got.
But what I'm saying is if the years matter, if the years are producing more money. I'm just saying if they're giving you $100 million, whether you do 2 or 3 years, you're going to do
same exact thing. Yeah.
Yes. But if they're giving you 100, 75 for 2, and then they're giving you 100 from for 3, then you're going to take the 3. But I'm just saying that's what I'm saying. If the money's the same, they're going to take the fewer years.
That's where the balance is, right?
They'll take the more years. So at the end of the day, it comes down to the more money.
Yeah, I guess it'd be a balance to it.
Technically, if James did a 2-year, $100 million, or 3-year, $100 million, if he did a 2-year, he would make more money because he could play again in that 3rd year, and anything that he made would be more than he would have made those 3 years before.
The question is, would he do 2 for 100 or 3 for like 115 at that point? You know what I mean? That's when you get a little tricky.
Yes, that's now you're looking at with the extra $15 million, will you be able to get that in your 3rd year if you're a free agent? Yes, that's where I'm saying. That's where it gets a little dicey, and you got to make a decision.
Yeah, because you got to think about today James Harden as James Harden, and then you got to think about 36-year-old James Harden trying to get the most money in free agency that year. It's like I got to really factor in. For a younger player, it's not as big of a deal because you're like, I'm 24, turning 27. I'm going to ball out for the next 7-8 years. But if you're 33 on 36, it's like I saw what happened to Chris Paul just now. Russell Westbrook's, I don't know what his contract's going to look like. Man, it's tough. It's tough.
That's what I'm saying. We don't know, like because the one thing that we forget when those guys get bought out or traded and stuff like that. Like they, in a lot of instances, they lose their bird rights. Like Russ, when he was released so he can go somewhere else, he lost his bird rights.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas that's why I believe Chris is trying to get it to where he's moved to the Wizards and then he's moved to another team. So he can keep his bird rights instead of going to the Wizards, getting released, and then have to sign as a free agent with no bird rights.
Which they're trying to do, apparently. They're trying to get him somewhere else.
I'm 100% sure that's why.
Yeah.
And that's only to help Chris. That would be no other reason to do it. It doesn't help. It may help the Wizards if they want to go a different route or bring some more players in, but they can accomplish whatever they need to accomplish with their plan without doing that.
Yeah. Because at this point, they would just not guarantee his contract and pay, I think, $15 million this season. And that would be it.
You're making that move. The move was made not necessarily to get from under Chris. It was to get from under Beal.
Yeah.
Beal's contract. I mean, you've accomplished what you set out to accomplish.
Yeah.
If you wanted more from that deal, you would have went and got a more comparable player and with a contract. But that's wasn't the alternative. I mean, that's not what they were obviously trying to do.
Yep.
What do you make of, I guess, so there's a rumor, we always talked about the Fred VanVleet rumor a couple weeks back, but another rumor came out this week saying that the Sixers would not be interested in Fred VanVleet, even if James Harden doesn't come back to Philadelphia. What do you make of that?
One, I don't know if that would be necessarily true. I think that someone who knows where that came from.
It's true.
I think that could be a negotiating ploy one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't necessarily think that that's true. If it is true, I would think that maybe the combination of him and Maxey isn't something they're high on. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Just a combination of those two they aren't high on it. But other than that, like I don't really know either way. I think as we go and we kind of see how this James thing shake out, we all know, we've said it just can't leave for nothing. You're gonna have to fill that void. So, and I like, no, I do, but you still think we all know they still need someone else. So it's gonna have to be addressed.
Would you even be shocked if Melton was thrown in on a trade?
No,
neither would I. As much as I think they like him and they like the acquisition and he was good for us, I wouldn't shock me at all.
I wouldn't surprise me. It would surprise me if Maxey's traded, Joel was traded.
Yeah. Yeah. The VanVleet thing, I took two things away as well. One, the report that followed after that he's commanding north of $30 million per season might have something to do with them being like, actually, we'll figure out a plan C. Two, we've heard that from multiple sources that Morey's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve if they don't get Harden. He's got plan B, C, D, E. I just think there's so much he can play with. I think going right to VanVleet and giving him that contract is not just like we could do other things. We're not tied to VanVleet.
Yeah, I think if James, like I said, if James is gone, we'll get something back. It'll be a sign to trade some kind of way.
Yeah. And I think at the same point where that VanVleet report came out, it also said that we were not interested in Beal, even if Harden didn't come back to Philadelphia. So, like, seems like we're not interested in anyone, even if Harden doesn't come back. I mean, I don't know. There's not playing there.
Beal had a no trade clause, so he had to be interested in us too. So,
yeah,
that's true. But hey, our name did not surface when they were getting down to the nitty gritty.
That's what I said. It may have been a two-way street, not just one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was Phoenix,
Milwaukee, and Miami.
Milwaukee
and Miami.
Yeah, I knew Miami. I forgot about Milwaukee. Yep, there you go.
Yep.